You know, there are certain topics that modern video games just don't cover anymore, and Mr. Wino has to at least be commended for being the standout title when it comes to games about an uncontrollable alcoholic. The plot here is that Mr. Wino is having a nightmare involving angry telephones, giant frog heads, and weird fire tentacles. In his dream, Mr. Wino must, of course, collect as much alcohol as possible before reaching the exit. He also, for some reason, seems to be running out of air constantly. I can only assume that this is due to severe sleep apnea. The plotline from the back of the cassette is a single sentence long. Wacky Wino is on the evil drink again and having a few problems. I mean, that's just a good way to sum up a serious, debilitating condition into a punchy platformer plot. It really baffles me that I owned this game as a kid. Even the cover art features an absolutely sloshed main character who can't open his eyes. I can only assume my parents were disarmed by the warning on the front of the box, which states, "Drinking is for Mr. Wino, not for kids." If there was ever a product of its time, I think this has got to be it. Mr. Wino himself, itself, is one of the most hideous character designs I've ever come across anywhere. He's a bipedal Viagra pill with an enormous nose, and when he faces forward, he looks like one of those cursed front-facing Simpsons characters. Pissed Up Peter's animation style is just a weird choice in general. In order to turn from left to right and vice versa, he has to rotate the full 180 degrees, which makes fast changes in direction impossible. Why would you need to turn fast in a platform game anyway, eh? It's not like this is going to be difficult, is it? It's a game for kids! Alcoholic kids! My memories of Dr. Drunkard extend to this. I could get to the second level. My older sister could get to the third level, and that's all we'd ever seen of this impossibly difficult game. And now, having completed it, I can't say we were missing much more than a serious headache. Mechanically speaking, Paralytic Paul is actually not too bad. The jumping is as sound as most Spectrum games were at the time. Graphics are crisp and clear with very little colour clash. Sound effects are mostly hideous, but for a budget Spectrum title, having any sound effects that wasn't just a beep was pretty generous. Wasted William does, in its own off-putting way, get a lot of things right. Where it gets things wrong, and this is something that afflicts a lot of Spectrum games, is the difficulty level. Starting at screen 1 with an uphill struggle, and rapidly turning into an inverse climb. Man alive, do you have to be accurate here. There are enemy patterns that can be worked out easily enough with a bit of observation, but there are enemy patterns that are so pixel perfect that you have to edge right up to an enemy to the point where his grotesque nose is practically molesting them if you want any chance of getting past unscathed. And then there are the fire, tentacle, octopus, haggis monsters. I'm fairly sure that's what they are. These guys turn up a lot throughout the entire game, including the first damn screen, and they are infuriatingly random. If you have one to deal with, you've probably got trouble. When two show up, roll the dice, see if you make it out alive. That's not difficult enough for you, let's just make them twice as bloody fast. Trying to navigate Alcoholic Alan through this situation is an absolute nightmare. You have to be precise when positioning yourself on ladders, otherwise the useless bugger will just stand there. You have to be precise with your jumping or you'll end up losing your legs. And you have to be precise when near the edge of a ledge because falling off can just lead to another inevitable death. You have to get everything, absolutely everything pixel perfect. And you've got to be psychic. These fire, tentacle, octopus, haggis monsters will change direction, gang up on you, leave you alone, hinder you, ignore you. Every possible permutation seems seeded into these guys, and guessing where they'll go next is down to the spin of a bottle. Even if you can manage to beat everything else in this game, even if you manage to work out exactly where you should jump to get past the wood saws, or where to stop to get past the falling hammers, or where to stand in order to give yourself enough time to get past a giant frog's head, you can be perfect at every other aspect of this game, but I guarantee these guys will get you. All of this could be alleviated somewhat if Boozed Up Barry could withstand more than 4 deaths. But there are no extra lives here. You do, or you die, and you die, and you die. And you die. Death comes quick and sudden, and depending on the stage you're on, your spawn point can also throw a free death or 2 your way as well. Why not? Sometimes, to preserve your meagre life count, it's often best to simply ignore some of the alcohol, to walk away from a life of bloated, reddened cheeks and persistent hangovers. Just head to that exit, which is for some reason a telephone booth, and get out of this lifestyle. And you can do that up to a point. Certain rooms have locked doors, and those doors will only open when under the influence Ian collects every damn bottle on the screen. And it's usually in these rooms where the toughest pixel-perfect challenges await. Plaster Patrick is a relatively short game overall, with around 6 levels to bang your head against in order to see the elusive end screen. Whether you'll ever get there is another thing entirely. Whether you'll want to get there is a lot easier to work out. My recommendation is this. If you want to truly challenge yourself, if you can deal with frustrating deaths without resorting to a bottle of whiskey, and you're comfortable playing as Earth's ugliest blueberry, then this is a mechanically sound but maniacally evil game. You will get better at some of it, but you won't get consistently further than you did before. There are multiple sections throughout where you will just have to cross your fingers and hope that everything goes alright. If you're someone who wants to play a fun platformer that doesn't require a magnifying glass to check the number of pixels between ledges, or someone who's going to give up when the first game screen kicks your backside like an overzealous nightclub bouncer, stay far away and leave this game to stew in its own juices. Personally, I'm just looking forward to telling my sister that I got past level 3 on Mr. Wino, and finally avenged my younger self. At which point she'll probably say, what the hell is a Mr. Wino? But I'll know.